Arches watercolor paper. Arches papers aren't just for watercolors. Use them also for drawing, calligraphy, gouache, printmaking, acrylics, and even digital printing. Manufactured from pure cotton fiber, they are so durable that they will remain beautiful and vibrant for centuries without conversation if stored and handled properly. Many artists say they choose arches because working on an inferior surface just isn't worth the effort, and no other watercolor paper provides such a huge selection of sizes, surfaces, and formats for creative expression. This paper is the original Arches, sometimes known as natural white, the choice of leading watercolorists all over the world. Arches is the product of 5 centuries of printmaking experience. You can rely on Arches to always be consistent. Arches watercolor papers are mold made in France with 100% cotton fiber content. They are acid-free, pH neutral, gelatin-sized, and air-dried. Sheets have 2 decal edges and are watermarked and embossed. The 16-inch by 20-inch sheets have 4 decal edges. See the item specs tab. This paper is the best of its kind. The price was great, and my paintings have the body I expected for a professional look. Very pleased. I bought the Archer 22-inch by 30-inch 300-pound hot press paper. The paper has a nice feel, texture, and weight to it. Blick shipped it very securely. They wrapped it with 2 pieces of cardboard and in a thin cardboard box. Definitely would buy again. As a longtime photorealist, watercolorist, and signature member, I have worked with Arches 140-pound cold press paper for over 30 years. I find it tough, durable, regardless of technique, wet on brush or dry brush. I've taught painting for over 25 years in community colleges and seminars and highly recommend Arches paper. I stretch it and use it for my watercolor paintings. You can see examples here. Arches watercolor paper was my first order from dickblick.com. The paper product was as I expected because I've used Arches paper before. The large sheets of paper arrived on time and packaging was perfect for the paper. No wrinkled paper from shipping. I would order my supply of Arches watercolor paper again from dickblick. Arches is so far the best machine-made paper I've used. Great mixing effect, great ability of presenting true color of your paints. Love it. Although it pains me to spend so much on each sheet of paper, my love of rough 400-pound deckled edge sheets keeps me coming back. I love the freedom of not stretching the paper. It makes my larger watercolor paintings much easier to turn and work with. I've tried other papers, but this is my favorite. I love that the water stands on the paper for just a second before being absorbed. I love the way the colors stay intense when dry. I purchased the cold press watercolor painting and the hot press for graphite drawing, as recommended in some art books I have. I felt like I had to fight to get blending effects on the CP paper, and the colors seemed to sink into the paper, diminishing its brilliance. It is wonderful for watercolor portraits. Every time I try a different brand of paper, I always end up right back with Arches. It is consistently the best. Arches watercolor paper is the best paper for my purposes, and it is always shipped to me as promised, packaged safely in pristine shape. This is a good company to use for buying art supplies and ordering online, an effective way to do so, hence the great prices. This is a fantastic product. Pay attention to Blick shipping sales. Along with the sales, they send in emails, and you can find a way to afford this. I love this product, and I swear by it. I've never been more pleased with such an excellent product. I find this the best paper for pencil and charcoal drawing. I try to achieve a photorealism in my drawings, and I find this is one of the better papers to achieve this. The paper is incredible. It is so sturdy compared to my sketchpad paper, and it just impervious to water eating at it. My basic watercolors stand out on this paper, and it's really made painting a much more enjoyable experience. I love this paper. It takes a lot of punishment. The paper came in a timely manner and well packaged. Arch's watercolor paper is the best, and to have it offered by you at such a great price, well, it's just hard to beat. Thanks for such a great service. This is very nice paper. I can't say if it's best in class, as I do not have enough experience to do that, but I really like this paper, and Dick Blake has the best customer service around. I've been using these sheets for 30 years and I have never found any variations in its excellent and predictable quality. For my water media application, I use the cold press 300 pounds. I see where the paper welcomes the mixed fluids and generously assists in offering up your best work. Seems alchemical, and I think it must have something to do with its manufacture. After all, it was produced in medieval times. Though heavy enough not to need stretching, it can take repeated soakings and dryings and still remain intact. The sheets can handle experimentation and respond well to warm iron. I hate paper that cockles, so I am a proponent of stretching your paper, but having the option to skip this step with Arch's 300-pound paper can be a time saver. Also, I enjoy the way water soaks into this paper and the fact that it is so substantial. You don't have to be gentle with this paper because it's a workhorse. If you want the best watercolor paper, Arch's is it. I buy rolls of it and do very large works. I have my beginning level students purchase the watercolor blocks, and their work turns out so much better than if they used cheap paper. Arch's is 100% cotton rag paper. I use the 140-pound hot press for drawing in graphite and charcoal. This is not new news. However, buying it in quantity and cutting it up makes it a really good value for fantastic paint drawing paper. It holds up well to erasure, very durable. One tip, while working with it, do not let hands get body oils on the paper. I use a slip sheet under my hand to keep it really clean. I work to a high level of realism using about 9 different pencils and 5 different blending materials on this gray paper, so I'm fussy. I love this paper. To me, Arch's cold press is the only watercolor paper that looks like watercolor paper. The natural color is just right, although the new bright weight is very nice. The texture is perfect and the sizing grabs the paint just right, and you can wet it, and when it dries it's just the same. I usually order from Dick Blake because I just don't commonly find a better deal and they deliver really quickly. I use this 140 cold press both professionally for commissions, plein air paintings, and teaching. One of my teaching philosophies is to let students start with economical paint and brushes, but I don't skip on paper. The paint flows like it should. You can remove paint unless it is a staining pigment, and no stranger overly linear patterns from the paper surface either. With the newer bulk discounts, I have not found a more economical source for reasonable quantities. The paper is very nice. It's stretched easily and well, plus I appreciated the help I received from sales in making my decision as to what to order. They gave me good advice. It seemed like a long wait for the product. It took a week to arrive, but I am happy with it. As a relative newcomer to watercolor painting, I have been reluctant to spend the money for quality watercolor paper. Never one to resist a good sale, I took advantage of the stock open save deal and purchased 10 sheets of paper. The paints move well and the colors blend effortlessly. A great way to improve the quality of your painting with no effort. Highly recommend. I've used many different kinds of watercolor paper. Arch's is the best. It takes the water beautifully and produces lovely results that I simply don't get with other papers. I teach watercolor classes and always insist that the students work on Arch's paper. It makes all the difference in the world. 100% cotton, imported from France, the original artist capital of the world. I have been a watercolorist for the past 15 years, and the Arches paper never ceases to fulfill its promises. Whether in 140-pound or 300, the paper's quality is always very high and wonderful. For instance, I always found that 400-pound papers from other brands, especially cold-pressed paper, wouldn't absorb paint and pigments well, a little bit like bristle paper, but fortunately I never had such a problem with Arches, and every sheet comes with a watermark, which they change according to batch of paper they're making. I use Arches cold press 140 weight to paint on with transparent watercolors. I like this paper as it can take more abuse, scrubbing off a color mistake, than other papers I have tried. I have found for myself that having good paper is as important as paint or brush quality. I am pleased with my purchase. It is pricey, so if I am just practicing or sketching, I will use a less expensive paper. I am a professional artist and I have used Arches for years. I use the hot press paper 180-pound. I also use it for making monotypes on an etching press by simply spraying it with water. The smooth surface takes any other medium I might want to use to develop the image further after making the print. Arches is one of the gold standards for watercolor paper. I am happy that Dick Blick carries it. Easy to order and receive quickly.